Hey everyone, Miko here with Behavior Analyst Supervisor. Welcome to another installment of our free Wednesday Zoom. Today we're going to be doing something just a little bit different. So if you checked out the Instagram post, you saw that today we're doing a sneak peek of our weekend long task list review. We haven't come up with a name. We're throwing a couple things around, but ultimately it's going to be a marathon, 2 days, Saturday and Sunday. We'll be going through about 6 hours each day. We'll review the entire task list from A all the way to I together, but we'll be doing it in the style that we do our intensives. So it's going to be part test taking skills, part learning the task list through examples. So tonight, I'm just going to show y'all a little bit of a sneak peek at that. We'll be covering one topic from section A, and I'll show you exactly the format. This is something that will be included in our all you need package. So if you're one of our all you need customers, it's included. If you're not, we will have it a la carte. So you're welcome to just send us a message and email if you're interested in more information on this. And again, I'll recap it again at the end because we still have some folks joining. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and jump in because I think it'll take all of the time. So let's get started. I'm going to share my screen. Chat. If you have questions, throw it in the chat. It's all encouraged. And stop my video because as y'all know, YouTube loves to just keep the video on. So our first ever task list takeoff. So what this is a deep dive into the task list. We certainly won't be able to go through the entire task list in 2 days, even going 6 hours each day. But what we can do is we can cover the most important areas of the task list. So obviously, some sections are bigger than others, and some item areas are more difficult or more important than others. Today, we just want to give you a sneak peek. So, as y'all can see, I'm presenting. When we do this, Bree will be our chat moderator. What we'll do, like I said, we'll cover the most important task list items. We'll use scenarios. We'll just dissect them, discuss them, refer back to the task list, all of that fun stuff. The goals of the task list takeoff or task list marathon weekend, again, playing with names. So if one sticks, feel free to throw it in the chat if you like it better than another one. I'll just be testing random names throughout. But number one, we want to build task list familiarity. We want to do that through examples and discussion. It's important to first and foremost be familiar with the task list before anything else. Next, we want to help you with application. This test is not definition-based. This test is application-based. So if you don't know the application, it's very difficult to do well on the test. So we're going to teach you some application using both real world and clinical examples. As much as real world examples are important, your test is going to be mostly clinical. So you can have all of the crazy, awesome examples in real life, but you also have to be able to put them into a clinical concept. And it's important to be able to do both of those. Next, we'll have some test taking skills. So practice, review, analyze, pass your test. We'll answer any questions that you have. We'll hopefully launch or even wrap up your studying depending on where you're at. And then we want to help celebrate you passing your test with you. We'll obviously teach you some test taking skills. So our top tips when it comes to taking your test are as follows. And we'll practice these throughout this weekend that we do. We'll also practice it a little bit tonight. But number one is to read the last sentence first. The reason we do that is the last sentence typically has the question. When you know the question, your brain knows what section it's from. Maybe one of the more challenging things about the exam is you have no clue what section the questions are from. But reading the last sentence, it'll tell you like, what measurement procedure are we looking for? Then I know, oh, it's a section C question. So I know that I need to think measurement. Or in relation to Miko's behavior, what is it maintained by? Oh, now I know I'm only worried about Miko's behavior. So super important. We have a yes, no, maybe no strategy when you go through each answer choice. We want you to be able to say yes, A is the answer because. The because is important. That's why we say explain the question and the answer in your own words. No, this doesn't work because the scenario says X, Y, or Z. This one might work, but again, the yes is better. So that's kind of our process. You should always ask yourself, what is the question actually asking? A majority of the time when we get questions wrong, it's not that we can't explain the concept. It's either that we can't apply it or that we're struggling with really answering what the question is asking. And so we want to help you with that. We love to ask, what would it look like? when it comes to all of those hard topics, if you can think about what it would look like, then you can find it in the scenario. And then it's like a puzzle or it's a test drive, right? Before you buy a car, you want to test drive it. And just like a puzzle, it's going to fit. We don't want you to force any answer. Instead, we want you to make sure that it fits perfectly, just like a puzzle. We'll be starting with section A. On your tests, not in this, we'll have more than 6 questions here, not tonight, but during the weekend. But on your test, there will be 6 questions from section A. And it's the smallest section out of any of them. Doesn't mean it's the least important. It just means it's the smallest percentage of your test. Now, do with that information what you will. The primary reason it's the smallest is because it only has 5 task list areas, whereas B has like 32 questions, so it's significantly bigger. But B has like 18 or 16 task list areas. So it's inherently going to have more questions. So that's just what I like to put it into context for folks. All right, without further ado, let's look at our first scenario. Again, we want to read the last sentence first. By doing this, Mary has met which dimension of behavior? That tells me I'm thinking about the 7 dimensions already, so you should know this is from A5, but let's do it. Mary has worked with her 13-year-old client for 2 years. During the time, Mary has ensured that the client demonstrated response induction. By doing this, Mary has met which dimension of behavior? The behavioral, the technological, conceptually systematic, or the generality dimension. And again, multiple of these answers might be right. You're looking for the most right or the most clear answer here. So go ahead and throw your answer in the chat, and then I'll explain on the next slide. Great. So we'll go ahead and move on. There's about 5 answers in the chat, so I appreciate the 5 of y'all that participated. It's challenge by choice. We would like you to participate just for accountability, but it's okay either way. The answer to this one, and I'm going to go through each answer choice, but the answer to this one is D, generality. The reason it's D, generality, is this response induction. Response induction is a AKA for what, y'all? What's an AKA for response generalization?
Response generalization.
Yeah, good job. So if you've engaged in response induction, it means that your skill has changed, or the response has changed, and it's usually without training. So that generative learning piece of thing, which relates directly to the generality dimension. Generality is generalization. Behavioral is a behavior that we can see and that we can observe. Yeah, probably we met this. Obviously, we're working on it, but we don't even know what the behavior is here. So I don't really have enough information. We could say that response induction has happened on a skill that I can't measure. I don't have enough information to pick A. Same thing with technological. Sure, if we're able to generalize it, that means probably at some point we wrote it so other people could implement it. But I don't know that because the scenario doesn't say it. And we always want you to pick an answer based on what the scenario says. Lastly, we have conceptually systematic. This is using the core principles of behaviorism, reinforcement, punishment, and extinction, with a heavy emphasis on reinforcement. Again, we have no clue how we encourage this response induction. We have no clue if we use punishment, reinforcement, extinction. We could have done something crazy fishy and it didn't work, or I mean, it did work, but we don't know. And so you only ever want to pick an answer that you have a definitive reason why you're picking it. I'm picking generality because it states response induction right here. So that's why D is our first and best choice. Let's go ahead and look at the next one. Last sentence first. Which dimension of behavior was it not clear that she met? So it's a negation question, as you can see, not, and we're talking about the 7 dimensions. So we go up to the top. Jill wanted to work on her public speaking skills for her capstone presentation. When she initiated the goal, she spoke for 1 minute in public. Then when it concluded, she was able to speak for the entire 30-minute course. Jill was sure to use a token system and practice speaking at the library, in class, and at local Toastmaster meetups. Which dimension of behavior was it not clear that she met? the applied dimension, the generality dimension, the effective dimension, or the analytic dimension? This is a very hard question. All right, I'm gonna wait just for a couple more answers in the chat. If you're watching this after the fact on YouTube, feel free to throw your answer down in the comment section. If you ever have questions, you can email us. But I'm gonna wait until I get to 15, or no, not 15, but about 3 more people answering, and then I'll go ahead and go through it. 2 more people. 1 more person. Sweet, let's do it. So again, I'm gonna go through each choice, but I'm just gonna flip to the answer side, not to build suspense, because I know I hate it when we go through it backwards. I just like to know the answer. So here, and some of you might disagree with me, but I promise you I have reasoning. The answer to this is B, the analytic dimension. We have to have clear information in the scenario that says we met it. Analytic means control. You're gonna remember that because it has a C at the end. It means there's a functional relation. Here, obviously it worked, right? When we initiated the goal, she only spoke for 1 minute. And when we concluded, she spoke for 30 minutes. So that's sweet. Obviously it's effective, so I'm gonna cross that off. Whatever we implemented worked. We think in order to have control, we know that we need a functional relation. How do we determine a functional relation? Well, the best way to do that is a reversal design where we take baseline, 1 minute, we implement an intervention, 30 minutes, and then we remove it. We don't have any removal. So we really don't have a functional relation here. Sure, I can kind of say that the intervention worked because the time changed, so it's definitely effective, like I said. But once again, nowhere here did we remove the intervention. We don't have a definitive functional relation here. We didn't even do a multiple baseline where we have like multiple people, and then we could test subjects 2 and 3. We didn't do that. We didn't also use a alternating treatments design where I have different treatments that see which one is higher. We did none of the things in order to determine a functional relation. So I can't say that it met analytic. I've already talked about effective. Generality, well, we did it at the library, we did it in class, and we did it at the local Toastmasters meetup. So we've met that generality dimension. And then applied, she needed public speaking skills for her capstone presentation. This is to graduate, so obviously it's important to Jill. So that is applied. Applied is socially significant. And to Jill, seems socially significant since she wants to work on it. She's also the one that selected it, which to the individual who's selecting it, that's socially significant. She picked it as a goal. So hope you can see why this is analytic. Now, the next thing that we do, we go through a couple, likely like the 7 dimensions, we'll do 2 or 3 or 4 questions just because there's so many of them. But the awesome thing, and the thing I think I love the most about these intensives that we do, we've done a section B, we've done a section G, we've done ethics, and this weekend long, we're gonna do the whole task list. But what I love the most about it is after we go through 2 scenario questions, do a little bit of learning, question dissection, then we go into an actual task list review. So we'll be doing this for almost every section of the task list. So that's what we're going to go ahead and do now. This came from A5, describe and define the dimensions of applied behavior analysis. Well, the generality dimension is generalization. So it means, you've generalized the skill across individuals, across settings, or across behaviors. Here I have an example. Sergio ensured that every 3 months, the therapists on all his cases were switched. This is going to help with the generality dimension because our clients are going to be able to generalize across different therapists, right? Generality dimension. Then we have the effective dimension. What effective is there is a meaningful change in the behavior. If I go from 10 to 9, probably not effective. But if I go from 1 minute to 30 minutes, that's effective. So it must be a meaningful change in the behavior. Malik tends to leave all of his clothes all over the house. His caregivers began locking his Xbox in the closet for 10 minutes. Well, it sounds like punishment, but we'll talk about that later. For each article of clothing that she found, Malik never leaves clothing around the house anymore. So it's certainly effective. The effective dimension doesn't have anything to do with using reinforcement first, so we know we should do that. All it has to do with is a meaningful change in the behavior. Here he went from leaving clothes around to leaving no clothes around. So it's certainly effective. Next, we have the technological dimension. The technological dimension means that we have written the intervention plan in a way that it is easily followed by others. Think about a recipe. If I write down a recipe, anyone can implement it, right? I think actually a lot of these recipe companies need to go to school for behavior analysis because they have like all the narration, and then at the bottom is the recipe. Just put the recipe at the top, but I'm off my soapbox. Our example here, the initial step of BST is to provide a written and verbal description of the goal. Andy likes to conduct a dry run before teaching a therapist. To do this, he gives them the BST sheet and watches them perform the skill. Andy has achieved which dimension of behavior if the therapists are successful in their initial implementation. So if I can just give you the sheet and you're able to implement it, that means we've certainly met the technological dimension. It's easily followed, it's easily replicated. So there is that. All right, and then we'd obviously go through the other ones, which I will do here since we have plenty of time. Analytics, upon taking over a client's case and after reviewing records, or sorry, I should tell you what analytic is first. So analytic means that you have functional relation. C at the end is for control. The way we determine control, y'all know in a reversal design, it goes from baseline levels. Then we see no overlapping data path, right? A significant change, behavior increases or decreases depending on what way you want it to go. And then when you remove the intervention, it goes back to those baseline levels. So here in our example, upon taking over a client case and after reviewing records, you place all goals on hold for 3 sessions and then re-implement all goals. So we have the case, the intervention is in place. We then place them on hold. So we've actually done a BAB. By reviewing the data, you can best monitor which dimension. So we've done a BAB design here. We can check that analytic dimension. We can see if it's actually the intervention changing the behavior or if it might be some confounding variable. Next, we have conceptually systematic. This just means that all of our interventions are rooted in behaviorism. They're derived from reinforcement, punishment, extinction. Don't be so rigid in your thinking. If I implement a token economy, that's grounded in reinforcement. If I implement establishing operation, that's grounded in reinforcement. So it just doesn't have to be those 3. It can be anything that's derived from them, which is basically every procedure we use here in behavior analysis. It's just saying that I'm not going to use like pseudosciences or things that don't have research behind them. For example here, Harley is an early adopter of interventions. Even though she likes to test out the newest interventions, she always conducts research to ensure they are rooted first in reinforcement. So we're making sure that even if we're trying new things, that they have reinforcement. And that's what we should do. We shouldn't be afraid to try new things, but if we do try new things, we should ensure that they follow behaviorism. Now, caveat, right? Research needs to be done before you try new things with your client that don't have research behind them. But obviously when we're researching, in order to get breakthroughs, we have to try new things. The applied dimension just is socially significant. So this is to caregivers, this is to the intervention, or sorry, to the individual. It's making sure that what we're working on is meaningful. Birch meets with caregivers and her clients on a weekly basis. During these meetings, she likes to ask how the stakeholders' lives have changed since the implementation of the intervention. By doing this, she is meeting which dimension. So here, as we see applied, we are asking caregivers if their lives are getting better. Are we making a meaningful change in their lives? That's social significance. Last, maybe the most easiest one, most easiest, not a word, but maybe the easiest one is behavioral. Behavioral just means that everything that we work on is observable and measurable. It all meets the dead test, and we are only working on behaviors that I can actually see and that I can actually measure. Doesn't mean that I don't account for radical behaviorism. It just means that I'm targeting things that I can see, measure, put the data to the paper. So as you can see here, you always ensure to write an observable dimension. Sorry, try again. You always ensure you write an observable definition of behavior. So that's what our task list takeoffs are going to look like. Again, we'll be doing this at the end of March. It's included in our All You Need package. It will be also available a la carte individually. It's going to be 6 hours on Saturday, 6 hours on Sunday. We're going to go through everything in the task list, well, all the important ones. We can't get through every single one, but we'll go through some from every section. Most obviously will be from B and G and C, those huge sections, but we'll certainly have questions from every single section. We'll be releasing more information as we get closer, but if you're interested in registering, you want more information, you are more than welcome to put it in the chat. You can send us an email, info@behavioranalystsupervisor.com, and we're happy to help you that way. It's not this weekend. It's gonna be March 25th and 26th, I believe. So the last weekend in March. A la carte, we believe it's gonna be $149. So individually, it'll be about $149. If you have the all you need package, it's included in that. So if you're interested, send us an email and I can put you on the list. And as soon as we get it, we have it. Also, we have someone here, I don't know if she's still here, that passed. That's so awesome. Miss Nola.
I'm here.
Oh,
So much.
you're so welcome.
That is like his intent to get the all you need guarantee.
I love it. That is so exciting. Nola has
so
been working
much.
with us for a while. Yeah, you're so welcome. You did the hard work, you did the hard work. So great job. I'm so excited for you. I'm sure it feels better now, right?
Yeah, it was so good. But Miko, thank you so much for your patience and meeting with
always.
me one-on-one. Thank you so much.
You are so welcome. Well, enjoy. Send me an email so I can send you a we'll send me your address and we'll send you a special treat for passing. And then I'll send you the link to leave us a review too.
Okay, yes, thank you so much. I'll do
Sweet.
it now.
You're
Thank
so welcome.
you.
Awesome.
Good luck, everyone.
Sweet. So I'm gonna put y'all's names in the chat. I'm gonna give away a free mini mock. I also have a question in the chat, so I will answer that question, but give me 2 seconds because it's hard for me to multitask. So I just want to put your names in before I forget to do that. Elise, I love how your name is spelled. That is so unique.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, just give me 2 seconds. I'm getting everyone's name here. I don't want to miss anyone. Okay, I got everyone's names in. Let me read this question real quick. Oh, if a family wants to do pseudoscience, what do we do? Well, we're not going to implement the intervention. I can tell you that. We can certainly collaborate. We're not going to participate in the implementation of the intervention, but the way we can collaborate is we can take data. We should always be advocating for the client. So don't be afraid to say there's no research behind that. Like, that's not a rude thing to say. You obviously have to wait for the right time to say that. You can't just break up an IEP meeting and be like, no, we can't do that. It's not validated. But what you can do is you can take data before the implementation and after. We are not participated during those, so that's important. And then if it is interfering with like the behavioral interventions, the family still chooses to do it, then we're going to discontinue services because you're impacting the behavioral-based, research-based intervention. So you don't want to do that. Any other questions? Feel free to unmute yourself. Again, if you're interested in this task list takeoff, send us an email, chat us on Instagram. Happy to get you hooked up for that.
Hi, Miko. I have a question.
Yes.
So the first question, right? I was thinking it's a behavioral because I thought the response induction that she was, explaining it in behavioral terms. Can you tell me why it's not?
Yeah. So behavioral doesn't mean we're
Behavioral
doesn't mean we're explaining something in behavioral terms necessarily. That would be technological. So that's a different dimension. What behavioral means is that whatever it is that we're working on is observable and measurable. In that question, we don't know what we were working on because it didn't tell us. And so I have no clue even what the behavior is. So I can't pick behavioral. I would automatically rule that out because I don't have enough information.
Okay.
Great. Cool.
Okay, thank you so much.
You're so welcome. Miss Elise, you actually won. So funny. So Elise, do you have an account with us?
No, I don't. Oh,
Okay,
I
cool.
might. I think I did. I signed up.
Can you do me a favor? Can you put your email in the chat? Just you can direct message it to me. I'm gonna take a picture of it and then I'll check tomorrow morning if you have an account. If you don't, I'll make you one and I'll send you an email with the information. Okay.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Sweet. You're so welcome. And then when you log in, the thing that we give away is it's a mini mock, so it'll be under test. So usually you go to like the courses tab. This time you'll go to the test tab and then you'll see a mini mock. But cool.
Perfect. Thank you.
You're so welcome. Awesome, y'all. So we do these every Wednesday. The rest won't be like this, so I just wanted to give you all a sneak peek into what that's gonna look like. I will be posting this on YouTube tomorrow morning. Other than that, I hope this is helpful as always. We're here to kind of support you. So if you ever have questions, we don't care if you're a customer or not. If you have questions, you can send us an email and we're happy to help you out. You can always comment, chat us, whatever it is, and we will help you. So any last minute questions before we jump off, y'all? Sweet. Well, I appreciate y'all. Everyone can jump off. I'm gonna hang around and get got it. Perfect. I'm gonna take a picture of that, and then I will see some of y'all tomorrow at our All You Need thing, and the rest of y'all I will see you next Wednesday. Take it easy, and I appreciate y'all.